Hold on tight, race fans. It is time for the fastest show in motorsports to take the green flag, and we are ready to roll with a brand new edition of Motorsports Madness here on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. I'm Jacob Thielman, the voice of Speed77, alongside a host of cast here at the round table tonight, including my partner in crime, Tom Baker. And Tom, I'll start with you because first off, I have to brag. We're 2 races through the chase, and guess who's got 2 points on the board over all of you guys? This guy. I have correctly picked now both Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano, and it's going to be a fun night here tonight. I'm up 2 on you guys, so y'all have some serious catching up to do. And Loudon, New Hampshire, boy, that was a fun finish on Sunday afternoon.
Pikester, while I'm responding to that, just reach over take that pin you got over there and just reach over and pop that balloon, would you? Burst that bubble for us. Gosh, we could hardly get Jake into the round table room today. You did good, bud. You've picked, you picked 2 Penske cars, which is the same thing that we all were thinking. I just bet on the wrong horse this past weekend. Yeah, Loudon was great. That was a really, really interesting race yesterday. Just enjoyed it thoroughly. Joey Logano, what a great win for him to win in front of his home crowd in the chase and assure himself of going into round 2. I thought that was a very, very, very well-driven race by Logano. And look, he was there when he had to be at the end, and he made some good moves to put himself in position to win that.
Yeah, he did. He was about 3 wide with Harvick and Keselowski for the lead at one point in a move where I was holding my breath thinking, oh, they're all going to wreck. But James Pike, they did not, and my boy in the double deuce gets through to win the race. He was on the high side of the emotion wheel. On the low side of the emotion wheel was, about 9 of the 16 chasers, because it seemed like New Hampshire, as opposed to Talladega, all of a sudden has become the, if anything can happen, it probably will track, because we saw some disastrous moments, and I think the driver that everybody's talking about now, who's in a really tough situation going into this weekend at Dover, is Denny Hamlin.
Well, before we get too far along, I need to burst your fantasy bubble, so to speak, because I need to remind you that I do have 703 points on you in Fantasy Live, so there is that. But I digress when I move on, and I'll agree with you, yeah. And not just Hamlin, but for all the other chasers, I'm a little surprised just going through the news of the weekend that I didn't see anybody say anything about the tire compound that Goodyear brought, because there were enough incidents that happened on Sunday to at least make me suspect that they might have brought a compound that was a little bit too soft and didn't hold up as well as it probably should have. So there is that. But, yeah, I think the amazing thing for me this weekend, just looking here, here's a stat for you. Between Roush Racing and Penske, both teams run Fords, but Penske's got quadruple the wins with twice the number of drivers that Roush has this season. Should that be happening? No, I don't think so ever, with all due respect to the captain. Roush is supposed to be the flagship team for Ford, so what's going on here? Everything is all backwards, but that being said, kudos to Joey on a fantastic drive and his neck of the woods and fully deserved win, too.
Yeah, he definitely made some moves and made things stick. And I will say this, I argue right now that Roush Fenway Racing is no longer the flagship team at Ford. I think Roger Penske has stormed onto the scene this year and immediately gone, hey, guess what? We're here and we're not leaving anymore. So they've advanced both their drivers to the next round for 9 guys now who are within 12 points of either being in or out for the chase cutoff for the first round next week at Dover. It's all about go time. I want to go now back to Tom here on this one. Tom, 9 guys who are either going to be in for 5 of them or 4 of them going to be out after this weekend. It's go time, and for a lot of these guys, it's either win or finish in the top 3. Otherwise, you're in a host of trouble.
Yeah, and this is where it starts to get interesting, too, because every time we get to a cutoff race, you know the intensity is going to go up. I mean, it has to. There's just no other way that these drivers can play this. That, to me, is what's so interesting about this format, is that the intensity is going to simply be off the charts, and I think you're going to see that start this coming weekend. And what a place to have one of these races in the chase in this situation at Dover, with so many of the guys who run so well at Dover in contention, and some of them on the bubble and really needing a strong performance here. I mean, I think this is working out exactly as NASCAR had hoped that it would, so far anyway.
Yeah, I mean, did anybody see the crowd on Sunday on television? It was probably the most packed I've seen Loudon, New Hampshire in about the last decade of having cup races there. So obviously NASCAR's doing something right, at least on the whole chase and excitement and promotion deal. But where the Cup Series has a chase, the NASCAR Nationwide Series does not, and it seems like they're still having a whole lot of fun. And I want to turn to our guy that was on the ground in Kentucky all weekend now, Ryan Kent, to talk about that because, boy, we had a lot of fun. And, you know, Ryan, we talk about this and look at what we had this weekend. We thought it was going to be a junior motorsports party, and who would have thought that Richard Childress says, oh, wait, by the way, we're just going to take the top 3 spots now. And how about Brendan Gaughan? Who knew he still had some fight left in him to take it 3 wide on a late race restart and go to victory lane? I thought it was fun.
Yeah, man, those from lap 171 on there, I believe it was lap 171. Lap 171 when they every car there was the big engine failure later on in the field. A lot of guys were making pit stops. I was right down there on pit lane. I was actually right in between Michael McDowell and the 22 discount tire. Roger Penske owned a car, and in between Chase Elliott's pit as well. But Richard Childress Racing, 4 of the 5. Cale Conley, a kid in the number 33 IAVA Chevrolet car. Outpicking him, I mean, to start 4th and finish where he did at 6th was a great run for a kid like that. And also Chevy, props to Chevy in the manufacturer standings. They came in, I believe it was 52 points up, and they had 6 of the top 10. So good showing for Chevy as well down there at Kentucky. But Ty Dillon, Brendan Gaughan, Cale Conley, and Brian Scott all in the top 5, 4 of the top 5 for Richard Childress Racing. Of course, Ty Dillon winning the pole, the 22-year-old in the Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet. Dominated most of the race. I talked to him there in the media center after the race along with Chase Elliott, and both of them just told me that it was just running out of tires. They were just battling each other so hard, and that was something that won Brendan Gaughan the race, was taking 4 tires over 2 there on lap 171. A good call by the crew chief, and ended up getting them to victory lane, and a free trip to Myrtle Beach, Virginia as well.
Yeah, I think that's the underlying theme that we saw all weekend long, Tom. Tires winning drivers' races. We saw it in the Cup race. Joey Logano taking 4 tires, ultimately gets him the victory. Then you look at Brendan Gaughan in the Nationwide race. He takes tires late, ends up going to victory lane. Then you go Saturday afternoon, scroll back time a little bit further, the truck race, where 25 laps to go, you don't think there's any chance in the world that 4 tires is going to win you a race. Cole Custer, the 16-year-old, and his Haas Automation crew, obviously they knew something we didn't. They take 4 tires, and the 16-year-old becomes the youngest NASCAR National Series winner in history. And I will admit, I was very, very happy to see this. It's one of those wins where you look at it as a breakthrough, you look at it as a moment where the sport can just sit on the laurel for a minute and go, hey, we've got guys like this coming up the ranks. It is going to be a good, bright future for NASCAR. And Cole Custer, what a well-earned victory late in the race. Matt Crafton, we don't ever see him make a mistake. Misses the shift, and the young gun capitalizes.
Well, let me tell you, Cole Custer had to do some fancy footwork coming back through the field after that four-tire change. It was funny because Joe Shearer's crew chief, they talked with him while the caution was still out, before they went back to green, but after they had obviously made the pit stop and come back out, he seemed to be waffling a bit. He wasn't too sure maybe that was the right call or not, but he felt like that they had the best truck all day, and he had the utmost confidence in Cole to get the job done. And boy, the green flag came out, and Cole went three wide up the middle, and he just started wheeling it. He looked like Kyle Larson for a little bit there, is what he reminded me of. He was as aggressive as he needed to be without being too aggressive. He just really showed that he belongs in the Truck Series, and he earned every bit of that victory. It was not a fluke. He had the most laps. I mean, he really dominated the day. It's always nice when you see someone like that get an opportunity, and he's such a humble kid. We're excited that it appears as though he is going to be a guest of ours next Monday here on the Motorsports Madness, and that should be a lot of fun, working to shore that up, but did speak with his dad a little while ago, and it appears that we will be able to get him for Monday's show. So just a great run for Cole, and it was a good race overall.
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, we talk about points battles shifting, and Matt Crafton right now, he took the championship lead back last race, doing what he needs to do, still comes home with a top 5 finish. Talk about young guns. John Hunter Nemechek getting a top 5 finish at Loudon, New Hampshire, wanted to get the win and complete the family trifecta after his dad won nationwide and cup races at Loudon. A nice afternoon for the young guys, because even Bubba Wallace, Tom, we saw that. 3 of the top 5, 23 years of age or younger. So you talk about the youth revolution, and it was on full display. Eric Jones even was up there in the second KDM truck for a lot of the afternoon. So the veterans really got outclassed by some of these young guys, and I'll tell you, it's kind of fun to watch.
It is fun to watch. I mean, it's nice to see. To me, that's what the Truck Series should be about. I really believe that series at this point, and the Nationwide Series as well, should be about the development guys, should be about the young guys, should be about the Cole Costers, should be about the guys, the Eric Jones, the Bubba Wallaces, the Chase Elliott's, the Regan Smith's not as young as he once was, but the guys that are coming up through the ranks and trying to get to the cup level, that are so aggressive and putting on such great shows. I mean, that was a banner day as far as I'm concerned for the Truck Series, and it really was just a phenomenal ending. I mean, to see Cole be able to make that pass and get out there and win, and you could tell in victory lane, I mean, he was just overwhelmed. It just meant so much to him to be able to make that happen finally after, so many, it only is, 7th start to be able to break through and win a race. I mean, you can tell he's got a future in the sport. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah, he absolutely does, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it all shakes out. And talking about the Truck Series and talking about young guns, we're going to have one coming up next right here on Motorsports Madness, who will be shifting to a new team with the conclusion of this past weekend's UNOH 175 at New Hampshire. Mason Mingus going to be joining us coming up after the break to talk about his move over to Billy Boat Motorsports for the rest of the 2014 season, and excited to talk with Mason about his new opportunity over there, changing teams, trying to see if he can't make some things happen and continue to make forward progress over the final 6 races Camping World Truck Series season. That conversation is coming up after this. We're going to pause for some business, though, right now on the Madness, but we will return in just a few moments. You're listening to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser. Online, we'll be right back.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
Packers,
Vikings,
Red State,
Blue State.
We come from different places.
Uptown,
Downtown.
We come to different conclusions.
half empty,
Half full.
But no matter how different we are, we're all connected, and we can all make a difference. That's why United Way brings people, expertise, and resources together to improve the education, income, and health of our communities, the building blocks for a better life. When we live united, our efforts, magnified by others, add up to real change. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly, so do our communities. But real change won't happen without you.
Live united.
So let's look beyond our differences.
Live united.
One by one, let's make a difference. Let's reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all.
Live united.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker,
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio.
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to Motorsports Madness here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker, along with our entire cast of characters around tonight's round table as we continue to talk all things motorsports. And race fans, if you want to get in on the conversation, you can call us up at 347-989-0783. Once again, our Race Chaser hotline, 347-989-0783 to talk motorsports with us, or pose a question to our next guest, who we're going to pull right out of the pits to talk with us now here on the Madness. Mason Mingus joining us after a solid run at New Hampshire. I know it didn't quite end the way you wanted to, but more importantly, getting ready to embark on a new opportunity for these last few truck races, joining Billy Boat Motorsports for the final 6 in the Truck Series season. Mason, first off, glad to welcome you back on to the Madness here with us tonight. And I know the question that everybody's asking, because it kind of caught everybody a little bit off guard. Talk a little bit about this move for you, heading over to Billy Boat Motorsports for the rest of the truck season, and what it's going to hopefully afford you here for the final couple races of 2014.
Yeah, we're really excited about the move to Billy Boat Motorsports. He's got a lot of great things happening over there. His son Chad's obviously been running in the Nationwide Series part-time this year, and they ran the ARCA Series last year. We're really, really strong. We raced against them, I think, 4 or 5 times in the ARCA Series last year at the intermediate racetracks, and we're always facing them. So I'm really excited to move over there. I think they've got a lot of great people on staff there, and and they've built some really quality trucks here in the past couple of weeks. This deal came together rather quick, and they jumped right to work and built some really solid trucks. And I'm excited to go to Vegas and debut that. I've been over there just about every day the past couple of weeks, and getting fitted in the trucks and getting ready to move forward to Vegas.
Talk a little bit about how that all came about, and a little bit about what the expectations are going into this new situation for you, Mason.
We just this year, Wingtron Racing's been great to us, and I've been racing for them for 3 years now, and we just nothing against anything they're doing over there. I think they've built some really good trucks, and definitely have some great people working for them, and some people that I definitely call my friends even after this, and so I wish them the best for sure. But we just haven't quite clicked for whatever reason it may be, and haven't quite gotten the finishes that we wanted to this year. So we're hoping that this move is going to be a positive one, and we can go out and run a little bit better. Billy Boats signed a deal with ECR, so we run ECR engines for the rest of the year, and they've proven week after week in the truck series that they're one of the top engine builders, and I'm definitely excited about that. I think that's going to give us a big advantage, and hopefully we can put all those pieces of the puzzle together and come out and make some strong runs. But we're just looking for something different and looking to hopefully come out and have a little bit more success here in the truck series before we move into next year.
Hey, Mason, you speak of Windtron Racing, the team you started out with, ARC. Coming into the truck series full-time this year, what was the biggest adjustment for you going from the ARCA cars to the trucks?
As far as from a driver standpoint, these trucks drive so much different than the cars. From what I understand, the Nationwide cars are a lot more similar to the ARCA cars than the trucks are. The trucks they're a beast of their own. They're so aerosensitive in traffic. It's like driving a brick. You're punching a huge hole in the air, rather than the ARC cars are a lot more aerodynamic. But when you get in traffic with these things, it's a huge hindrance. You go from really tight to wrecking loose all of a sudden, and then right back to being extremely tight. So it's a constant battle, and you really have to learn how to maneuver these trucks in traffic and figure out how the air works. And that's definitely was my biggest struggle going into this new season. Not only have I not had much intermediate track experience, and then all of a sudden we're jumping into, I think, 17 mile-and-a-half tracks throughout the course, 22 races. So that was a big jump for me as well. So I think, between those two things, we're definitely the biggest differences from going to a car to a truck. But I think it's only going to help me moving forward, because if I can learn how to drive these trucks as hard as they are to drive in traffic and as hard as they are to get around these mile-and-a-halves, it'll help tremendously if I get the opportunity to go Nationwide racing at some point.
Looking ahead a little bit, Mason, I know you've talked about this season being a bit of a learning curve for you, especially with the mile-and-a-halves. But this past weekend for you was, I know it didn't end the way you wanted it to necessarily, but it was one of the more solid runs we've seen out of you, where you were able to keep the car in one piece. What were you able to pick up on this weekend in Loudon, because it is one of the few short tracks, if you will, that the Truck Series runs on?
It is, and I thought we were going to have a really strong run for those guys at Wintron for our last race with them. They definitely deserved it. They brought a really great truck to the racetrack. I really didn't have too many complaints all weekend about that truck. I felt like we were a top 10 truck at the end of the race there. It just took us a little bit to adjust on it on the first couple stops, and we had some pit stops that got us pretty far behind, and we were just trying to make up after that. But that they brought in a new crew chief for the last two races. Starting in Chicago, and then obviously New Hampshire, and he did a great job. Dennis Conner really brought something to that program and to those trucks, and I felt like we had one of the best trucks there. We just fell behind on those pit stops, and we fought as hard as we could to make it back up. Just wasn't quite enough time there at the end of the race.
Now, for you going forward, obviously these last 6 races, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. I know there's always a grace period when you go over to a new team, but you're really trying to position yourself for next year. What's the goal for you guys in these final 6 races over at the Billy Boat squad?
Just to be consistent and knock off some good runs. We really don't have a lot to lose right now. We're keeping our point standings in mind. We're sitting 11th right now. We'd really like to move up a couple spots there and definitely finish inside the top 10 in driver points. But with all that in mind, we kind of have some room where we can go out and take a couple chances and try to pull off a good finish and possibly a win. There's always, like you said, there's always a learning curve moving to a different team, new crew chief, new crew, new trucks. But that's going into this. That's our main concern is how do we speed up that learning process. Luckily, they haven't been in the truck series yet, but they've run ARC series, Nationwide series, and I don't expect that it's going to be too much of a learning curve or slow progress on their side of things. And we've already made a lot of starts in the truck series this year, so hopefully we can accelerate that that dead period where we're learning each other. And I've been there trying to talk to Dan, our crew chief, as much as I can and pick his brain about some things that we're going to try. So hopefully, communication-wise, we've got the ball rolling and are going to unload and get to work pretty quick in practice.
I'm just curious really quickly, out of these last 6 races that you guys have on the truck schedule for this year, is there anywhere in particular that you're most looking forward to getting to?
I like Martinsville. Obviously, it's a short track. I feel like we can have a strong run there. Martinsville is, sometimes your fate is left up to a lot of other people on the racetrack because racing's so close and there's no room there. But I think if we can come out with a good truck and qualify decent up front, I think that we can have a solid run there. I really liked that earlier this year. We unfortunately got our day ended a little bit sooner than we wanted earlier this year, but hopefully we can go there and really pull out a good run. I also really liked Homestead last year. Never been there until the last race of the season last year, which was my 3rd truck start ever. But I really liked that racetrack, so I hope that we can go there and pull off another good finish. Hopefully Martinsville and Homestead are probably the 2 that I'm looking forward to the most, but I think we've got a lot of good opportunities to go run well.
And, of course, Mason, before we cut you loose, I know this is actually going to be a little bit different for you now, but new opportunity, new situation. I know you can't do it by yourself, so real quick want to be able to let you give some shout-outs. So who makes it happen for Mason Mingus?
Yeah, definitely. We've got a ton of help from Call 811 Before You Dig and Diamond Equipment, and they're going to come on board with us when we make the switch to Billy Boat, and they're excited about it as well. So hopefully between 811 and Diamond Equipment and all the guys at Billy Boat, we can move forward and have a really great end to our 2014 season.
And Mason, we appreciate you coming on and talking to us tonight for a few minutes. Definitely looking forward to seeing your debut with Billy Boat coming up here at Las Vegas, and want to wish you all the best. Excited for your new opportunity, and hopefully we'll be talking to you soon about really strong run. I know that's what you guys are looking forward to, and we're looking forward to the next time we get to bring you back on the show.
Thanks for having me on.
That is Mason Mingus. With that, we're going to take a caution flag here on Motorsports Madness, but we are far from done. When we come back, we will talk to our open wheel correspondent and move into Open Wheel Central here on the Madness. We'll bring Joel Sebastianelli on the program and break down all the F1 madness from Singapore, as well as some IndyCar news and notes. That's coming up after this business. You're listening to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. We'll be back right after this.
Race Chaser Online and Speed77 Radio has gone live. All 3 of the Race Chaser Online Speed77 Radio branded podcasts can now be found live on blogtalkradio.com. Look for Motorsports Madness Monday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker, along with all of their cast of characters, covering everything from NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, Super Dirt Car Series Modifieds, World of Outlaws, Sprint Cars, V8 Supercars, and everything in between. That's Motorsports Madness, Monday nights at 7 p.m. Then on Tuesday nights, it's time to talk New York Dirt with Turn 5 Live, hosted by Steve Ovens, Clint Miller, and Brad Ovens. They talk everything from the local scene in the Finger Lakes to the national dirt racing news. That's Turn 5 Live, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on blogtalkradio.com/Turn5Live. Then on Thursday nights, it's time to go full fendered action with the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, and Kyle Souza. That's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Go to blogtalkradio.com/racechaseronline, and for all of the news, views, and driver interviews, go to www.racechaseronline.com.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to Motorsports Madness here on Speed77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com. Race fans, if you want to get in on the madness, give us a call at the Race Chaser hotline, 347-989-0783. You can call in and talk motorsports with us. Once again, that's 347-989-0783. If you've got an opinion, if you want to vent, or like our own Joel Sebastianelli, you want to whine about something, come on, give us a call. We'd love to hear your opinion and your voice on the Motorsports weekend. And, you know, I mentioned it already. I'm sure it's coming. Joel, we were in Singapore this weekend, so that begs the question, because it is F1. What have you got to whine about this week?
Not all that much. Definitely a very fun round in Singapore. Always one of the great stops on the Formula One calendar. That Marina Bay circuit looks beautiful at night. It's right up there with Monaco for the close quarter sort of racing. Absolutely no room to make an error on that track, and just looks so gorgeous, completely lit up like that. One of my favorite rounds of the season, and of course the racing is always really, really good there. And as if we needed any more drama in the championship fight, Lewis Hamilton isn't just back in the fight. He's the world leader right now, up 3 points on Nico Rosberg. Started the weekend down 22 points, and with just 6 races to go heading into Singapore, we wondered just how easily Lewis would be able to climb back up there, and really no room for error for that team, and there was no error, at least in Lewis Hamilton's garage. First place, picking up another victory this season. But the real story was Nico Rosberg. Nico having more reliability issues. Both him and Lewis have retired from 2 races each due to mechanical problems, and the electrical system is so important on a modern Formula One car. And he had to start the race from the pit lane. Actually wasn't able to roll off on the formation lap, and after just over 10 laps, due to issues with the wiring on the steering wheel, was forced to retire. An agonizing feeling for Nico, seeing the entire field go by him and watching that championship lead completely evaporate. He's now 3 points behind Lewis Hamilton, and the story as we head into Japan in 2 weeks with just 5 races to go. Granted, there is one double points race at Abu Dhabi for the season finale, but everything we know, the entire narrative about this Formula One championship chase has completely changed.
It seems like that has happened a lot lately, and not just in Formula One, but all across motorsports, Joel. Heartbreak, obviously, for Nico Rosberg, but this weekend in Singapore, you know, he may not have won the race like a lot of people speculated he might, but I have to give credit where credit's due. This weekend was the most Sebastian Vettel-like that I've seen the 4-time champion look all season long, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, open wheel stat boy, but that was Vettel's best finish of the season, I believe.
You are correct, and it was also the first time he's even led a lap this season, which is pretty remarkable when you consider the fact that he's ran away with the World Championship the last few years, and 4 in a row for Red Bull and Vettel. So considering how shocking and un-Vettel-like the season has really been, it was very refreshing to see him leading, even if it was only for a little while. After Lewis Hamilton made his final pit stop, Vettel was able to lead 1 lap, but at that point, Vettel's tires were relatively worn. Hamilton was on new tires, and the biggest advantage of all is that Lewis Hamilton was in a Mercedes. So the lead didn't last all that much, and it just didn't serve Vettel at all to drive really defensively. He ended up ceding the way for Hamilton to swing on by and pick up the victory, but I think it's, for the Red Bull team, I think it's a bit of a confidence boost to know that they were able to run up front for a little while, to know that Sebastian Vettel, one of his favorite tracks in the Formula One calendar, was able to shine for once this season, because he hasn't had a lot to really be happy about. He finished 3rd in Malaysia, 3rd at the Canadian Grand Prix, but those were the only 2 podiums this year entering into Singapore, whereas Daniel Ricciardo had 3 race victories heading into Singapore. So he also gets on the podium in 3rd, 2 Red Bulls back on the podium, as we were used to seeing before 2014.
Yeah, we were. It almost seemed like we were back to normal, except for the fact that Mercedes continues to win races. So obviously Formula One coming down, 5 races to go, 6 races worth of points. It's not over yet, but certainly we know it's at this point basically going to come down to one of the two Mercedes machines winning the championship. That's what makes life interesting right now, because we know neither one of them is going to give it up without a fight. So this F1 title chase going to be very interesting. And now I'm sure Nico Rosberg, after a DNF, a retirement, he's going to be coming back for vengeance. I wouldn't be surprised to see this championship fight swing once or twice in either direction before the end of the season, Joel. But want to move away from Formula One for just a second now, because we've got other news to talk about from your other favorite open-wheel sport. Let's talk IndyCar for a minute, because the end of last week we got a big announcement, and actually it was almost predicted announcement. I'm starting to get used to these little, we know them and we just have to wait for them to actually be written in print sort of things. But Brazil returning to the IndyCar schedule, going to be, as of this moment, as far as announced races, it's the season opener. We know there's still another potential international race out there floating around, waiting to see if somebody's going to grab onto it up at 16th and Georgetown. But the beginning of March, we're going to Brazil. I'm excited about it. Tony Kanaan and Helio Castroneves are excited about it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think you can be anything but excited about it. The Brazilian market, really important for IndyCar. You've got some very, very popular Brazilian drivers, Tony Kanaan and Helio Castroneves, in particular, two of the stars of IndyCar, period, not just considering the fact they're from Brazil, but even in America, they're two of the most popular drivers. The crowd support has always been so strong when they've raced in Brazil. It was a real shame that after 2013, we lost the streak of Sao Paulo, because from 2010 up to last season, this was one of the great races in the IndyCar season. Some great finishes there, some great racing, and overall, just the crowd was so strong, so into it. Whenever Tony Kanaan would take the lead at that track, it would be a standing ovation. You could actually hear them on television leaping up, which isn't something outside of maybe Indianapolis that you really get anywhere else. So it's an electrifying atmosphere, and I'm sure that that'll carry over to Brasilia as well. A track that hasn't seen a lot of action, at least as of late, that's particularly noteworthy to Americans anyway. It's had a lot of Brazilian races that have raced there at the Autodromo Internacional de Nelson Piquet. There's actually two tracks with the same name in Brazil, believe it or not, but this one is in Brasilia. It's a very flat circuit, but a relatively short circuit, a fast circuit at least. 3.4 miles in length that they use, the layout that they use for everything else, 12 corners, relatively short front stretch, but two long straights on that track, separated just by turn 12, the final turn on the circuit. And Formula One has raced there as well, a non-championship race in 1974. Formula 3 would race there, at least in South America. Their version of Formula 3 is raced there. So it's a track that's had plenty of action and plenty of races, but we haven't seen it in the spotlight for a top-tier series like IndyCar, Formula One, in quite a while. So we'll see the type of crowd it gets. I'm sure it'll get a very good one. And being marked down as March 8th, it is, as you said, the provisional season opener for now. I would hope that if there is going to be another race, Dubai has been mentioned as a possibility. If you're going to race another international race, you would hope that that one would be a little bit earlier, because as I've been advocating for so long, really from the Rolex 24 up to the Daytona 500, there's nothing anywhere in motorsports for people to watch. So even if it is a race that takes place overseas and it's not a mid-afternoon race on a Sunday or a Saturday like we're accustomed to when it's in the Eastern time zone or anywhere in the United States for that matter, they could still capitalize on an auto racing audience that's just dying for some sort of racing somewhere, anywhere. And March 8th would at least do that, even though NASCAR's return, but it would be great, I think, for the series to see a race in February as well.
Tom, my night just got made right there. I just heard Joel say something having to do with non-open wheel racing. It's a miracle. Again.
I know. It's becoming a nasty little habit here, isn't it, on the Madness? I think maybe Joel has finally gone mad just like the rest of us.
hey, if you're an IndyCar fan for long enough, I think madness will eventually set in. Usually it's good madness. But the schedule, as we've discussed, and everybody in the IndyCar community has discussed, really needs a lot of work. And I think at least starting the season earlier is a great step toward improvement in that regard. If you are going to end the season before Labor Day, you need to start the season much earlier, and perhaps in the future a return to Surfers Paradise would be a possibility. These teams get paid handsomely for races overseas, so the real issue is roping in an American TV audience, but I think the more races overseas before the season starts in America, the better for the series. If you're going to end the series in September, if the season's going to end, then you may as well start. Why not start in January if you can, and you're able to make that work at decent venues where you know you're going to attract a crowd and where you can attract the TV audience, particularly in America as well. It'll help to grow the series, and it'll help get a few more races out there when there's nobody else competing against you.
I
I'll
just
take that
don't.
argument.
Sorry, Jacob. I just wanted to sneak one in real quick. I don't understand why we're racing. Why we continue to stop racing in September. I mean, wouldn't it just make sense to keep going at least into October, for crying out loud?
It doesn't. It doesn't. And people look at the Boston Consulting Group and talk a lot of smack about it, say it has terrible ideas. You're talking about business people from Massachusetts who know nothing about the business of racing in Indianapolis. And on the one hand, I agree with them. But on the other hand, I think it's worth noting that there are two things you need to do with your TV audience. There are the people who are going to watch IndyCar no matter what. And obviously those people, however small that faction may be, you're never going to lose them, even if it's up against an NFL game or if it's up against a college football weekend. You're not going to lose those people. But if you're simply building your series around that small group of people, which more often than not is less than 1 million people, which in the grand scheme of things compared to other series, that's not a lot in your TV viewership, you're not really doing much to help grow the series. So if you put IndyCar up against an NFL event or up against a big college football game, sure, those same IndyCar fans may tune in, but they're going to tune in anyway whenever the race is. What you're not going to get is that crossover audience, the audience who wants to give IndyCar a shot because either there's nothing else on TV or they're just interested in racing anyway and they want to give IndyCar a shot. The TV audience outside of your Indianapolis faithful aren't going to tune in. So it's sort of a no-win situation because you're going to make everybody upset if you end the season at Labor Day. It's a long, long winter, and even part of spring you have to wait for racing. It just takes the series out of the news completely for all those months, and you don't win there. But I just don't think you really win by eliminating that crossover audience by going up against other racing series, for example, like NASCAR and the Chase, or even up against football, where there's a chance that you're just going to get smashed in the ratings. I don't think it really helps anybody. So would I like to see the season go longer? Yes, absolutely. I think extended another month or so, that would be great. But I've seen firsthand how just casual fans that I know who love the sport of football just aren't going to choose IndyCar over that. And you're not going to get a crossover audience that way. So it's a very fine line to walk between the two from a business and PR perspective to grow IndyCar.
Well, I got to be honest with you, Joel. I disagree with some of that in the sense that I think eventually IndyCar is going to have to make up its mind. It's got to step up its own marketing game in order to gain that share. That's a great answer, and you make some very valid points. I'm impressed. Jacob.
Yeah, I have to agree. I was rather impressed with that. And Joel, obviously, we'll have you back on next Monday Night's Madness. Just want to touch on a teaser for next Monday for one of the subjects we'll talk about with you on that show. You released a blog over the weekend to Race Chaser Online regarding the argument for IndyCar canopies. I'm excited to delve into that a little bit further next Monday. We won't get into the whole thing right now, but obviously it opens up a whole can of worms. And, you know, we call you our wine and cheeser, and instead it's not you that's whining about the subject in this case, and we're looking forward to getting to that a week from tonight.
Certainly look forward to it. It's especially as we go on. Right now, Derek Walker only toted out the idea of canopies as sort of a provisional idea. Like, you know, let's see where it goes. Let's research it. We have Aerodyne right here in Indianapolis, who manufactures canopies for the NHRA after they made those mandatory for top fuel dragsters a couple of years ago. So right now it's only the very beginning of a discussion, but I think this conversation is going to heat up more and more over the next few years, and I certainly advocate it. But great to be on, as always, talking IndyCar and F1, and wherever you may be this weekend and whatever racing you may be watching, be sure to enjoy it, stay safe, and have fun.
All right,
Thanks, Joel. Good job.
Appreciate you coming on. We will take a break, and right after this, we continue our Open Wheel Central conversation, bring Ryan Kent back with us, and we're going to talk with Pro Mazda champion Spencer Pigot on his 2014 season and the remarkable comeback that led to a championship trophy. That's coming up right after this. You're listening to Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Stay tuned. We're back in just a moment.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas? 1 in 300 million. The odds of the daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland spending 11 weeks at number 1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records? 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to Motorsports Madness here on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker leading our entire cast of insiders through motorsports conversation from the last weekend and talking about some stuff from the upcoming weekend as well. And right now we continue our jaunt through Open Wheel Central, and I want to bring in our second Open Wheel correspondent, Ryan Kent, back to talk with us, because Ryan, we've got a driver coming up right now on the Race Chaser hotline who certainly deserves some conversation after a remarkable comeback to win one of the 3 2014 Mazda Road to Indy championships.
Yes, it is my pleasure to now introduce to you guys, our listeners here on Race Chaser Speed77 Radio, the 2014 Pro Mazda Points champion, Spencer Pigot. First off, Spencer, how are you?
Hey, guys, I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks a lot for having me on the show.
Yeah, not a problem. Now, Spencer, tell me recently about the Chris Griffiths test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the new Indy Lights car.
Yeah, I had a great test out at the Speedway. You know, I didn't get to drive the new Lights car. That's just being tested right now by the guys in IndyCar doing some development work for the teams that are going to be buying the new test with Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports in the current Indy Lights car. And, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely a lot more power than I'm used to, a lot more grip, downforce, just a bigger, faster car. So it was cool to get used to that, but very excited to get to drive the new IL-15 here in a couple months.
I know, Spencer, you're looking at continuing to move up the ladder, and talking about the Mazda road to Indy for a minute. You were on the Pro Mazda ladder this year, obviously getting to oversee some of the new drivers that are going to be coming into that division for 2015 at the Griffiths test, but you had one of the most spectacular comebacks I think I've seen in motorsports this year to come back and claim the Pro Mazda title. You really dominated most of the season, but Scott Hargrove taking the fight all the way down to the very end, and it looked like he was going to have it until about the last possible second in the finale. What was that like for you, having to come back from basically looking like he was going to steal it away from you to ultimately being able to celebrate the championship?
Yeah, it was definitely an emotional roller coaster the whole weekend, really. I mean, like you said, we had been really strong all season and never really been challenged for the points lead very closely. And, coming into the last weekend, we had a decent lead. We had about 20 points lead over Scott, and then we had a DNF in race one, which put us back to behind Scott. So there was really only one option for us, and that was to beat him and hopefully, win that last race of the season. But again, it didn't go to plan. I got hit in the first corner, so I was facing backwards, trying, just hoping that everybody was going to dodge me and not take off my front wing or damage any suspension. And luckily, they all missed, and just had to put my head down and try and pass as many cars as I could. And I was coming through the pack, and a few laps to go, I saw Scott had some issues and ended up being a gearbox issue. So, I think it was just a crazy race. I mean, I couldn't believe when I saw him slowing down. I was obviously very happy to see it, but I think at the end of the day, we won the most races of the season, and I think we were definitely deserving champions. And but would have really liked to have it a bit easier that weekend, not so hectic.
Hi, now Spencer, you won $588,800 for winning the Pro Mazda Championship there. The winner of the Indy Lights Series gets $750,000. Not a bad runner-up prize, I guess you could say. We talked a little bit before there through some messages of some of the different teams that have been interested in you, where you were testing, as you mentioned before, with Sam Schmidt and his organization up in Indianapolis. How's that communication been so far about what kind of team, what kind of rides you could end up in for the 2015 Indy Lights Series?
Yeah, I think Indy Lights next year is going to be very exciting. I think there's a lot of new teams that are looking to come into it with the new car. Some teams from sports cars, some teams that used to run open wheels, teams that, kind of fizzled out and are now looking to come back into the series. So, it's very wide open. There's a lot of really qualified engineers and team owners out there that I've been lucky enough to talk to. And, it's not as easy as it used to be for the Mazda champion. There used to only be pretty much Schmidt or Andretti that you would want to drive for in Indy Lights. They've won the championship year after year. Now it's kind of thrown wide open, and it's a great time for new teams to come into it because it's a blank sheet of paper, and it's a level playing field for everyone. So, obviously there's some Mazda teams that are looking to come up to it. Juncos Racing, the team that I drove for this year, are really trying to get into the championship. So, there's still a lot of time for us. I heard you guys talking about the long off season, which, it's not as a driver, I'm not a huge fan of. I want to keep racing all the time, but we have a lot of time before the first race of the season, so we're not going to rush into any decisions.
All right, now Spencer, you're 20 years old. You were a two-time recipient, actually, of the Team USA Scholarship. How much do you think that helped you, and how much would you encourage young racers, like I know you talked to Christian Ross, a guy like that, to go after a scholarship like that with Team USA?
Team USA it's a great opportunity. Jeremy Shaw has been running that for a long time and has picked a lot of really, really good drivers to head overseas to drive, and it's fantastic. It's all a new experience for the drivers. We're not used to being on our own at the tracks. The families aren't there. We're out of our element. New team, new cars, new tracks. So it teaches you to really learn quickly and just adapt to everything that's new around you. So if any drivers that are listening out there, it's definitely a great opportunity. And Jeremy picks very deserving drivers, and you just have to make sure, one, that, you're doing your job on the track and getting good results, but also, you're doing the right things away from the track, because Jeremy's a big advocate of, dressing properly, make sure you're presentable to sponsors, speaking well to the media and things like that, because nowadays it's not just about, driving the race car fast, it's more about the whole package.
All right, now, Spencer, you actually got your first win, late in the 2013 season. What kind of confidence does that give you, and possibly some of the teams that were looking at you give you the full 2014 Pro Mazda Series ride?
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing to get that win in my first year in Mazda. It was really a disappointing year, to be honest, after winning so many races in USF 2000 the year before. We seemed to struggle a bit last year with Team Pelfrey getting a handle of the new. Coming into the season, I knew that there were a few teams that had really got the hang of the new tire. Obviously, Andretti Autosport, as they won the championship, but Juncos Racing as well. So we wanted to make a move, and Juncos Racing, I've known those guys for a long time. I raced go-karts with them when I was younger. So it was a pretty easy decision to go with them, and it was probably one of the best decisions of my career, because they were fantastic to drive for, really smart guys. They know what they're doing, and put together a hell of a race car.
All right, now, Spencer, you had the chance to also test the Indy Lights car back in 2013. You also had the chance to test it recently also, as we mentioned before, at the 2014 Chris Griffiths test up at Indianapolis. What kind of feelings did you have from the first time you tested it just about a year ago to now the recent Chris Griffiths test?
Yeah, I think I had an advantage going into this recent test, because I had driven the car before. I kind of knew what it was like, but it was such a long time between the two tests that I still had to refamiliarize myself with everything and get used to the power again. The car felt quite a bit different, because the first time I drove it was on Firestone tires, and the Cooper tires have really changed the balance of the car. So it definitely felt a bit different, and the track was a lot different than the one I drove for at my first test. So it was good to have that bit of experience, just to get back into it a little quicker. I knew what the power was like, but, still, with there being almost a year between the two tests, I definitely had a lot to get the hang of.
Looking at this for you, Spencer, obviously looking at Indy Lights for 15, now that you're through the Griffiths test, obviously you're looking full steam ahead to seal up a ride and go after the Lights Championship with the scholarship. For you, what are your anticipations or any expectations going into 2015, or have you figured out where exactly to place the bar just yet?
Yeah, it's tricky, because I'm not really sure who's going to, the teams that are going to be in it, the drivers that are going to be in it. I'm sure it's going to be very competitive with a lot of interest with drivers and teams from the States, but also Europe. So, we expect to be with a really good team and hopefully be fighting at the front for race wins. And, if we can be consistent, then challenge for the championship as well. It's not going to be easy. It's definitely a lot to get used to with a bigger car, a lot more horsepower, a lot more downforce, and a lot of competition next year, I think. So we just expect to be up at the front and try and learn as much as I can, and hopefully we can hit the ground running with whatever team I end up with over the off season and get some good testing in.
Real quick, Spencer, before we let you go, I want to give you a chance to shout out to the sponsors, supporters that make it happen. So I want to give you the chance to do that. Who makes it happen for Spencer Piggott?
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of people that make it happen. Doug Mockett, Gus Stopes from California Sense, Jim Norman from parathyroid.com, OMP, the Stutz here in Indianapolis. Obviously, my team this year, Juncos Racing, was fantastic, and can't forget my parents and my family that have supported me all these years, and everyone that's given me tips and helped me along the way. It's all paid off right now, but there's still a long way to go, so hopefully we can keep climbing the ladder.
and we look forward to watching it, Spencer. Appreciate you coming on to talk with us here tonight, and looking forward to seeing what you can do. Looking forward to finding out where you're going to land for 2015, so you'll have to keep us posted for that, and we hope to have you back here on the Madness as the new season gets ready to roll around.
I will. Thanks a lot, guys, for having me on the show.
That is Spencer Piggott. We are going to take a caution flag here as we approach the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going super modified racing, and Tom Baker going to get to talk a little bit more about the baddest cars from around the Northeast. They are his specialty. So after this business, the Madness rolls on, and we continue in just a few moments. You're listening to Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online.
Race Chaser Online and Speed77 Radio has gone live. All three of the Race Chaser Online Speed77 Radio branded podcasts can now be found live on blogtalkradio.com. Look for Motorsports Madness Monday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker, along with all of their cast of characters, covering everything from NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, Super Dirt Car Series Modifieds, World of Outlaws, Sprint Cars, V8 Supercars, and everything in between. That's Motorsports Madness, Monday nights at 7 p.m. Then on Tuesday nights, it's time to talk New York Dirt with Turn 5 Live, hosted by Steve Ovens, Clint Miller, and Brad Ovens. They talk everything from the local scene in the Finger Lakes to the national dirt racing news. That's Turn 5 Live, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on blogtalkradio.com/turn5live. Then on Thursday nights, it's time to go full fendered action with the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, and Kyle Souza. That's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Go to blogtalkradio.com/Race Chaser Online, and for all of the news, views, and driver interviews, go to www.racechaseronline.com.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Motorsports Madness here on a Monday night, originating from the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina, but with our Motorsports Madness roundtable crew scattered all over the country here tonight. We're just having a great time talking everything from NASCAR to IndyCar to F1 and all points in between. And right now we're going to move into some super modified conversation here on the Madness. We'll bring Jacob Seelman back a little later. Steve Ovens and I will talk a little bit about what happened at the Race of Champions at Oswego a couple of weeks ago. Hadn't had a whole lot of time to really hit on that, Steve, but quite an event. 7-division show in 2 days turned into one long 18-hour marathon.
Yeah, that's for sure. I had sent you guys a message early in the day and said stock up on coffee because this one's going to be a long one, gentlemen. Yeah, unfortunately for everybody in the pit area, it was about 39 degrees by the time it was over with, and I don't think there was much coffee left to be had, to be honest. I think they drank it all probably by about 7 or 8 p.m., but it was just a long, long day, and, you know, a lot of conversation about whether they should have tried to get something in on Saturday night, but we'll defer that to another show. I want to talk a little bit about Dave Danzer and his fait accompli that he had on that Sunday, because by winning that race, he basically bookended the Oswego Speedway season. He not only won the first race of the year with what became his backup car a little later on, he brought his brand new car out, won the $10,000 Mr. Super Modified race in the middle of the year,
and then proceeded to win the last race of the year, the Race of Champions race. Dave Danzer is a driver that largely got overlooked in the small block super ranks. I mean, I think he did win a race or two, but really wasn't all that spectacular. But it just goes to show the difference in the driving approach and the way the two cars drive. The newer style super modifieds are much like Indy cars. They have so much grip now, aero grip, downforce, and it really is one of those situations where you've got a race car and you really just hang on to the thing. You're turning very little with your hands going into the corner, and that just seems to fit really well with Danzer's driving style. And he is, I would say right now, he would have to be considered, especially if Otto Siddeley doesn't return on a weekly basis next year, which is being floated around, but I'm hoping he'll come back. But Danzer's got to be considered one of the top favorites to win the track championship next year.
Oh, for sure. And what's interesting about Danzer is when we talked in our pre-Oswego Classic show there at the track, when we had Michael Barnes on, he was talking to us about how much faster a brand new chassis is compared to cars that even had been running for a couple weeks or a couple months. When Danzer rolled that brand new 52 out of the shop, those guys were lightning fast, and they ran away with the Mr. Super Modified race, which may not have surprised a lot of people, but I think with how dominant they were, I'm sure raised a lot of eyebrows, and that's really something that I take, in talking to Danzer before the Classic. He was very confident in his car, as he should have been, but boy, just the speed they came out of the box with that car was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it really was, and Michael Barnes did the same thing with his car. And, he was just off all day long at the Race of Champions, almost embarrassingly so. I mean, he didn't look good at all in the heat race, and he really didn't run all that well in the feature either. He was never competitive for a top 3 or 4 spot. I don't even think a top 5 spot, to be honest, in terms of his racing. I mean, he ended up at some point, I think, floating around in maybe 5th or 6th just because the rate of attrition and such, but he just was never really a factor, and I have to think that there's going to be some major work being done on that 68 car over the winter, because that car definitely did not live up to its expectations. It really... He dropped out of the Classic, and didn't run well at all at the Race of Champions. So I think they're going to have to take a look and see what happened down the stretch, because Michael did turn a 15-second lap in time trials, but they want to win races, not just run fast time trial laps. So that was a real surprise, actually. Yeah,
that it was, and I'm confident that those guys will get that sorted out in the wintertime. They certainly have the right pairing as far as their team goes to make all that happen. Talking about expectations, let's talk about a guy here, Tom, that really met expectations, I think, this year. Otto Siddeley picks up yet another division title there at Oswego Speedway in the Super Modifieds. Let's talk about your reaction to Otto racking up another championship.
Well, I mean, what can you say? It's the 7th one. You just there comes a point where you just tack the legend tag on, and you really, there isn't much left for Otto to do at Oswego. About the only thing left for him is winning a wing race. I mean, he's won, I think, 4 classics now and 7 track championships. Not sure if he's ever actually won the Mr. Super. I'd have to go back and look that up. But he's won just about every major race there was to win at Oswego, and most of them more than once. He really has achieved a status as a driver at the Oswego Speedway in this era of these cars that I think almost would probably make you forget that even before this aero revolution that we've had, Otto took a couple of older style supers and exceeded expectations with those too. Otto can drive a race car. He got into DJ Schulich's wing car and had no problem finding top 2 speed in that car. Of course, it is a top 2 car, but Otto had no trouble adjusting to the faster speeds with the wing, and really has done a great job every time he's been in it. I know Otto would. I think he has some other things in the sport he'd kind of like to do. I think he'd kind of like to go run some sprint car races. I think he'd kind of like to do some more winged races. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of buzz about whether or not he'll be back to defend his track championship again and run on a weekly basis at Oswego. But, if you certainly couldn't blame him if he decided not to come back. I mean, there just isn't a whole lot more left for him to do at the Big O. But, if he doesn't come back, I hope that John will look at putting somebody else in the car and keep a car running weekly at Oswego. John Nicotra, his car owner, is one of the best there, and I think that he definitely would be missed if those blue cars weren't there on a weekly basis at all. But the other thing about Otto that's unique is much like Nolan Swift, who won 8 track championships, Otto doesn't just drive the car. He also spends his time during the week wrenching on them, and that's what's made a lot of the difference. Those cars are so meticulously prepared, and no matter who gets in any of those blue Nicotra racing cars, they're up front fast and contending to win right out of the box. So I think that says a lot for Otto, and I hope he comes back, but if he doesn't, certainly wish him the best at whatever he decides to do, and the races that he does decide to run at Oswego, I'm sure they'd welcome him back, and it would be great to have him.
That's for sure, and I think that's one thing that race fans can certainly look at and respect Otto for all that he's done in the division is that aspect of him wrenching on those cars and willing them to victory week in and week out at the Big O. Let's talk about SBS title, and Andrew Schartner finally picks up track championship this year. Been a lot of years of hard work with his crew, his family, and it all paid off this season for the 18 car.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking with Andrew yesterday, actually, and we were discussing the ROC race, and I made the statement to him. I said, I really was a little surprised that down the stretch he drove so defensively. He got off, the goal coming in was to win the championship coming into the season, and he won the first couple races. The first 4 or 5 races, he basically couldn't do anything wrong, and then he hit a stretch in the middle of the season where he got wrecked, I think, 3 out of 4 weeks, but he wasn't necessarily down the stretch driving to win the races. He was more concerned about making sure he got through the races to win the championship. And I wondered about that strategy, and he said, well, look, he said, we can debate back and forth whether it was a good strategy or bad strategy, but the bottom line was I didn't want to put my car in positions the last couple of weeks of the quote-unquote regular season before the Classic. I didn't want to put my car in positions where I was going to get wrecked out. I was having that happen enough, trying not to win, and I didn't want this to come down the stretch to this Race of Champions race and have the track championship in doubt. I wanted to do everything I could to sew it up before the Classic so that no matter what happened at the Classic and no matter what happened at the Race of Champions, I knew I was going to win the title and I could run those 2 big races to win the races. And I understood that, and he really did. He got to the Race of Champions night and basically won the title by walking through the gate, but once he qualified out of the heat races and started the feature, and he knew that night his car loves the cold weather for whatever reason, and he knew he had a race car to win. he had a 5.6-second lead at one point before a late race caution brought him back to the field. There was nobody going to catch that machine, the Crow Motorsports 18, that night. He was just the best car on the night and really put the punctuation. That was his third straight Race of Champions race win, and the fourth straight for Crow Motorsports. Craig Harris won it the year before Andrew started running for him. So it really was a great season for Andrew. And, lots of discussion about what he's going to do in 2015. We were in the midst of looking around at some things and got some time to decide there for him, too, just like with Spencer Piggott you heard from earlier. But definitely a great season for Andrew, and he is considered one of the top drivers at the track. And, if only there were more super modified rides available, he may have a shot at one of those. But there just really aren't a lot of cars out there without drivers right now, and Andrew certainly would be a winner and I think a champion in the super modified if given the chance, but just not a lot going on. But the small block division going to definitely see some new faces next year. Ray Sand Jr. just bought Brian Sobis, number 6 small block, so the Sandman Jr. will be coming back to the track next year. That's a track where his father, Ray Sr., ran for so many years. I remember him in the Austin Brothers 71 and Eddie McAuliffe's upright 18 there at the end. And so I know Ray Jr. will be one of the additions.
Well, that's going to make for a very interesting 2015 season. And obviously we want to send out our congratulations to Andrew Schartner and his team. He joins the ranks of Russ Brown, Mike Bond, Ray Graham, Keith Gilliam, Dean Hogue, and of course Scott Landers, as all drivers having won SBS titles at Oswego. And with that, we are going to go off to our next commercial break, and we have more Motorsports Madness on the other side of the break. You're listening to Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-Supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
For every turn, a twist. For every start, an untimely finish. For every win, someone who loses it. For every number, a nation. For every celebration, a brawl. For every split second, years of work. For every heaven, a hell. For every good old boy, a good old girl. For every curse, a prayer. For every ounce of order, a jug of chaos. For every twist, there's a turn.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to Motorsports Madness here on a Monday night in Charlotte. rolling through another couple of hours of race talk here. About another half hour, actually, of race talk here on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Tom Baker, along with Jacob Seelman and Stephen Ovens and the rest of our cast of characters. And it is time now. I always look forward to this because this is the time when we get dirty here on the Motorsports Madness Show. No, adults, don't hide the kids. We're just talking about dirt track racing. And, Stephen, a lot going on the dirt around the country. But let's start with your neck of the woods up in New York and talk about a jet plane that is now leading the point standings in the Super Dirt Car Series.
Yeah, Brett the Jet Hearn from Sussex, New Jersey, picked up a big win in the Super Dirt Car Series this past Sunday, actually last night at the Fonda Speedway. And unfortunately for Super Matt Shepard, he brought in roughly a 50-point lead into the event, and they had a mechanical failure within the first 10 laps of the race that ended up putting Matt out of the race, and Brett goes on to win. Of course, Fonda, one of the many tracks that Brett does well on, and certainly late in the season. So now, with the unfortunate circumstance with Shepard's crew, with the HBR team, and Hearn taking the win, now Brett Hearn has a 46-point lead over Matt Shepard, who now falls to third in the points. Of course, Billy Decker moves up to second, and this is going to be a great battle, guys, because now Billy Decker's within 7 points of Brett Hearn, and the next race for the series is, of course, the Syracuse 200 on the Moody Mile.
Yeah, the Moody Mile and the Syracuse 200, Steve, and how many times have we seen that race shake up the Super Dirt Car point standings? Just when we thought it was over, it gets fun again. But, I'll tell you this, just when we thought the season was all planned out, not just in the Super Dirt Car Series, but also in the World of Outlaws, Steve, Joey Saldana back on the attack. We thought he was about done with all his magic tricks for this season, and yet we go to Eldora for the 4 Crown, and we go to Lernerville the next night for the Commonwealth Clash, and who are we talking about but Saldana? Back-to-back wins. He's up to 7 on the season. Nowhere close to being able to dethrone Donnie Schatz. That's a championship waiting to happen. But I like this rebound. That Modern Motorsports team has done a lot this season. I was really happy to see that for Joey Saldana. And that whole team, they've worked hard the last couple of weeks, and that's 2 big races in their pocket.
It absolutely is. And we've talked here in the last few weeks about how the Modern Motorsports team has been able to really put it together in time trials when it comes out to go out and getting all the quick time awards they got, or at least they have to their credit. And, of course, he scored another one over the weekend as well. So as much as we've talked about how fast they've been in qualifying, it was awesome to see that they're finally getting it put together as far as the A main event goes. But we will say this, too. When you qualify, get a quick time award, qualify through your heat race, and get to capitalize on the qualifying format that the World of Outlaws utilizes at this point, that's what's going to lead to these wins, and it's great to see that they are putting those together. And I got to tell you guys, both of those races this weekend, if you haven't had a chance to check out, if you didn't see the race live or hear it on Dirt Vision, certainly check out the World of Outlaws Facebook and YouTube pages. And I believe the Eldora highlights were on their Facebook page. Really outstanding races within the top 5. Saldana holding off charges from David Gravel and holding off shots at Eldora, which, the quote of the night there was, "I actually beat Donnie Schatz at Eldora." And, just the racing is as good as it gets. And to see Joey Saldana in victory lane, he had a great battle with David Gravel there at Lernerville. And Lernerville, you could almost see in the highlights where the track was giving up. At one point, Saldana was running the top, and and Gravel was trying to work the bottom, and then Gravel went to the top, Saldana came down to the bottom, and then Gravel had to try and use the middle line, and you could, as these highlight packages are going, you can see where the track was starting to give up and where they were having to search around. And when you guys have a track like that, where they've got to search for the line and see where the track's given up and where can we pick up a little moisture here or there, that's when you have an excellent sprint car race. And Jacob, I know you know all about that.
Oh, trust me, yeah, I know all about good sprint car races, and yeah, I started to mention the Four Crown Nationals. We'll get back to that in just a second, Tom, because I know you're fired up about that. But really quickly, you want to talk about a great sprint car race? I'll send both of you guys the link on YouTube after tonight's show, because the highlights from this battle are on YouTube now with my call of the event. But the Sonoya Summer Nationals for my U.S. cars over the weekend, talk about exciting. How about 3 lead changes in a lap and a half? Eric Riggins Jr., the Carolina kid, and young gun out of Florida, Colin Cabry, put on a whale of a show in the Saturday night finale. Laps 22 and 23 might have been the 2 best laps of sprint car racing I've been personal witness to all season long. It was brilliant, Tom, and you know, you talk about both of them, both young guns, 21 and under. Eric Riggins, we weren't talking about him for about 5 months. Now all of a sudden he's won 3 of the last 4 races, going to the North-South shootout in 2 weeks at Carolina Speedway, where he is the defending champion. Sounds like a recipe for a little bit of fun, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, look, Eric Riggins he's the man. I mean, when it comes to winning races in this area here, the Carolina kid is as good as it gets. And I think he showed over the weekend. I mean, that was a great race. I was able to see the highlights earlier from the second race there with Colin and Eric, and both of them did a really nice job. Eric had to work for that. Colin Cabry really made him work for that, and Eric was able to open up about a straightaway lead, I think, after he got out front. But definitely a great run for Eric Riggins, and yeah, obviously anytime the 360s roll into this area and race at Carolina Speedway, it's always a show, and this time should be no different. But I would expect that Eric's going to be the guy to beat until somebody does beat him. My money's on the 47.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I mean, he swept the North-South shootout last year, so that's where I would put the smart money. But right now, my smart money's going on the fact that it's the bottom of the hour and we need to take care of a little bit more business. So we're going to slide another break in here, but we're not done talking dirt track racing. Stay tuned. We'll finish talking USCS, go back to the Four Crown Nationals, break down some USAC action, maybe even get to some straight line action in our next segment. Stay tuned. The madness rolls on right after this. You are listening to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online.
Race Chaser Online and Speed77 Radio has gone live. All 3 of the Race Chaser Online Speed77 Radio branded podcasts can now be found live on blogtalkradio.com. Look for Motorsports Madness Monday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker, along with all of their cast of characters, covering everything from NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, Super Dirt Car Series Modifieds, World of Outlaws, Sprint Cars, V8 Supercars, and everything in between. That's Motorsports Madness, Monday nights at 7 p.m. Then on Tuesday nights, it's time to talk New York Dirt with Turn 5 Live, hosted by Steve Ovens, Clint Miller, and Brad Ovens. They talk everything from the local scene in the Finger Lakes to the national dirt racing news. That's Turn 5 Live, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on blogtalkradio.com/Turn5Live. Then on Thursday nights, it's time to go full fendered action with the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, and Kyle Souza. That's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Go to blogtalkradio.com www.racechaseronline. And for all of the news, views, and driver interviews, go to www.racechaseronline.com.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the madness here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and Steve Ovens, man in the dirt table right now as we talk all things dirt track racing as part of Motorsports Madness here this evening. And if you want to get in on the conversation, race fans, give us a shout here on the Race Chaser hotline at 347-989-0783. One more time, that's 347-989-0783. Tom, we were just talking about the North-South shootout before the break. Eric Riggins, obviously, he's got to be the favorite going into this with the fact that he won both halves of the Sonoya Nationals leading into the race where he's the defending winner. But, you know, we call it the North-South shootout for a reason, and that's because the added challenge comes in. These USCS boys going to have to duke it out with the best of the URC. I'm figuring we could have anywhere from 30 to 40 360 cars for this event coming up in 2 weeks' time. And let me tell you, that's at least one B-main, if not two. You want to talk about some big names potentially getting left on the outside looking in, you're going to have to be on your game. Guys like Josh Weller, Davey Franick, No Panic, as they call him, the championship leader in the URC Tour right now. Of course, Terry Gray, Morgan Turpin. You put that many big names on a dirt track and tell them to go nuts for 30 laps, you've got the potential for some fun. And I'm not just going to hand it to my USCS boys, even though right now they are 4 for 4 as far as races where we've gone up against the URC.
Yeah, I mean, some of those guys like David Franick, certainly very competitive. There's no question about it. I mean, it'll be great to see a good field. I hope that we hit 30 to 35 or more cars. You know, I'd like to see that. I think we were just over 30 last year for this show, so hopefully we can stretch it to 35 to 40. That'd be a great show for the sprinters. Of course, the 600's on the card as well, but I just, you know, again, until a URC car actually wins here, I'm just going to keep my money on the USCS boys. I just haven't seen the URC car that's able to beat these guys, and Eric Riggins has just been on fire no matter what the situation is. I mean, he had a tough break in the spring and did a little bit of a rollover, but actually parked it in turn one, but I don't know. I look at the field and I still see Eric Riggins being at the top of it, and I'll tell you a guy that could be interesting to watch because he's had some good runs in the USCS division from this area lately is Brandon McLean, and I think Brandon's definitely going to be a guy who's fun to watch as well, but I think the Carolina kid's going to be the one to beat. I think the URC cars are going to have to step up their game from what they've done in the past if they're going to take down the USCS boys.
I will agree with that, and not because I'm biased by any stretch. I just, you know, I'm a guy that looks at the numbers. You and I both know that, Tom, and I think the numbers support the USCS boys right now, as you and I have both alluded to. But, you know, that show kicks off at Carolina Speedway Friday, October 3rd. That is in just under 2 weeks' time now, so looking forward to that. And another sprint car and open wheel extravaganza, Tom, that you really wanted to be at this weekend, and a couple of my friends were heckling me because they were there and I wasn't. The Four Crown Nationals at Eldora. We've already talked about the World of Outlaws STP Sprint Cars portion of that. Let's talk about the USAC portion of it now for a little bit, and maybe even bring Steve Ovens back in on this conversation. Tom, I'll talk about the midget portion first because that was a fun show involving two names that are now basically synonymous with the USAC midgets, Brian Clausen and Christopher Bell. You know, when those two end up at the front, it's a recipe for fun to begin with. When you add that Bell had to work his way about from the back, makes it even more fun. Then add in the fact that Brian basically had to hold him off for the latter part of the 25-lap A main and still won it. That is a win to be proud of, and Clausen proving once again that there is nobody better, at least in my mind, in any of USAC's 3 divisions.
I would agree with all of that, and I know you're our resident stat boy. You're a numbers guy, just like you just said. So let's talk about a number here. Let's talk about the number 6. Excuse me, that is the amount of cars that tangled, got wrecked in the same wreck in turn 2 on lap 3 of this race. Now, the significance is not the number. The significance is who comprised the number. Listen to this list. Rico Abreu, Christopher Bell, Tanner Thorson, Tracy Hines, Brady Bacon, and Chris Windham, all in the same accident. You want to talk about the potential to change the complexion of a race, and here Abreu, Thorson, and Bacon all flipped. And Bacon was able to get back along with Hines and Bell, and of course, Bell quickly moved through the field into the top 5 and then went up and challenged Brian for the win. But what a crazy race that was to see that multi-car tangle real early on in that one, and then to see Brian Clausen end up just holding off Christopher Bell, who's been flirting with the dark side, or at least the open wheel set would say that's what it was, running some late model stuff lately, but definitely proved he hadn't forgotten how to drive the open wheel stuff. He darn near pulled that out. But what an amazing thing that was to see. That's an all-star list parked in turn 2.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a lot of expensive equipment too. Knowing how much money those teams spend on equipment in the USAC ranks every year. So, whoo, buddy. All right. So that's the midget portion. The sprint car portion, a little bit more interesting. You talked about Brady Bacon. He parked it over in turn number 2. Well, he gets out of the midget. He gets in his sprint car. He goes and says, "Okay, Eldora, you want to play games? I'll play games." He drove it all the way to victory lane in the sprint car portion. Heck of a comeback.
Yeah, I'd say so. And equally as impressive was Brian Clausen, who finished second, almost pulled off the double, and fell a little short. Brady Bacon got the win, Clausen finishing second, then Justin Grant, Tracy Hines, and a great run for Hunter Schurenberg, finishing in 5th, just ahead of Jerry Coons in that race. Definitely another great race and a big win for Brady Bacon. That's, there's a kid that he's older than you think he is, just because he's been around so long, and I think he actually flirted at one point with a NASCAR career, but has basically stayed on the open wheel side of things, and he's become one of the best at it, and certainly a driver who is always in contention to win, and that's a big one for him. It was great to see him pick up the win, and like I said, a great run for Clausen to end up second in that one and have himself a first and a second in those 2 races. He came back for a 6th in the Silver Crown event, so not a bad day for Brian Clausen at all.
No, not at all. He actually did a very solid job, and, so often we see Clausen run the triple and try to win what in this case is the only time all 3 races in a single weekend, and we see this is the one time that we get to see all 3 series on the same day, which I think just makes it so much fun for the USAC boys, the ones who try to run the triple. But we talked about midgets, we talked about sprint cars. Let's talk about Silver Crown now, because this one was interesting. And yes, Brian Clausen was in it as well. He did not win it. However, the guy that crossed the line first didn't win it either. Caleb Armstrong crossed the line, thought he had won this event, but instead he did not. He actually getting a penalty post-race, because this race, Tom, was marred by a bunch of attrition, a bunch of tire failures. The track was abrasive. It was ripping up right rears left and right, no pun intended. But the whole left and right adage is what broke Caleb Armstrong's heart in Victory Lane, because he lost a right rear tire, came in, changed the tire that was flat, but he also changed the left rear tire, which was not flat. That's something you cannot do under USAC rules. He gets a one-lap penalty served post-race, and who does that elevate to the win but one of the all-time greats in USAC competition? Jerry Coons Jr. wins the Silver Crown, Four Crown Nationals. I've not heard the Coons name in a little while, but I'll tell you, I was really happy to hear that name come up again, because he's kind of been in a semi-retirement recently. We've not seen him run in the full tour very much here this year after he's been in contention for so many wins, so many championships. But, you know, you're in the right place at the right time. You can pick up wins, and that's exactly what Jerry Coons did.
Well, that's exactly right, and you're right. Jerry is a veteran. He's been around forever. I mean, he was a veteran when I was young, so he's been around a long time, and just great to see him pick up that win. Again, a big win for him to add to his extensive collection there, and he finished sixth in the earlier race with the USAC Sprint, so again, not a bad day for Jerry, a first and a sixth, and he was also the fast timer in the Silver Crown division as well, beat out Cody Swanson by a tenth for that honor. So, the Four Crown National is just one of those races that's always been on my bucket list, and I've never been able to get over to see that. And of all the racing Eldora does, obviously, I think we all agree we'd love to go to the truck race, and Steven's actually been there. If I could choose any race at Eldora to go to, and this would probably surprise some people, but it would be the Four Crown Nationals just because of the variety. I'd love to go see all three of these classes, and I just think that would be an amazing show.
Yeah, I think it would be. Steve-O, I know you've been knocking on the little window. We'll bring you back out from behind the glass. Any more news from up there in the grand old state of New York and beyond?
Well, I did want to bring up something real quick. Over the weekend, I had touched real quickly on the Stuart Friesen, Jessica Zemkin combination before we ended our dirt segment last weekend. Wanted to talk about a big win that Stuart picked up on Saturday night at the Grandview Speedway. Won the Freedom 76er, pocketing $25,000 for the win. And when you back that up from their Coal Cup win at Utica Rome, Jessica's Canadian Sprint Car Nationals win at Ohsweken, it actually kind of leads me into my next point, is Stuart won that race on Saturday, and then Jessica is looking to potentially put a deal together that would bring her down to the World Finals at Charlotte. Of course, working with her close sponsor, Corpac Merchandising, which has been with her for about 4 years, I believe now. And they are trying to put a deal together that would get Jessica down to the World Finals in a competitive car, maybe her own car. I know what they're working on right now is the support to fund a motor that would allow her to be competitive at the World Finals. Stewart, on the other hand, is also working on a 410 deal, but that will be to race at Rolling Wheels during Napa Auto Parts Super Dirt Week. So Stewart and Jessica looking to do a good amount of fall racing here with the sprint cars, and I know that it would be exciting to see Jessica run down in your guys' neck of the woods down there in Charlotte.
Yeah, wow. I didn't expect that. That's a little bit of news that I think makes the World Finals that much more interesting. And, boy, that just makes the fact that we're going to be there to see it all that much more fun, doesn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it really does. Love to be able to get Steve down to help us with that coverage as well. I mean, it's just that's a really, really, really interesting scenario there. And the World Final always a race weekend that is special here in the area. It's also a race weekend that's usually very cold here in the area too. So if any of you are coming over here for the World Finals, bring your winter coats and your all kinds of layers because you'll need it. But just a great weekend of racing, and I'm sure Jessica would love to get on the track and run this event, and would be fun to see Stewart in a sprint car as well. I mean, he's a driver who's obviously multi-talented. He did fairly well in his asphalt modified debut at the Race of Champions a couple of weeks ago up at Oswego. We didn't get a chance to talk modifieds too much earlier in the ROC segment at the top of the hour, but he did okay. I mean, I think he figured out by the end of the race. I think he had understood the difference between driving on dirt and driving on pavement. Just a whole different driving style, and he had sort of smoothed it out. And but he got involved in several little things, little jingles, things like that. That I think he ended up 11th or 12th, which wasn't that bad for his first time. So yeah, both would be a bunch of fun to have in action, but certainly be nice to see Jessica down here racing. She's been on the tear.
Yeah, it would be. And with that, we are going to go to our final caution flag, take one more break here, and when we come back, we are going to pull out the crystal balls one more time, give our best guess at what the answer to the question of what kind of calamity are we going to see this week is going to be, because it's the Monster Mile at Dover, and it's a chase elimination round, and we all know what that means. It's going to be crazy. Stay tuned. Our performance picks come up after this final caution flag. You're listening to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. We'll be right back.
All I wanted to do was just pick up a guitar and sing praise songs.
From IamSecond.com.
Well, when I got to 17, I was playing in after-hours bars, just in a bunch of trouble.
Grammy Award winner Michael W. Smith.
Smoking that first joint and feeling so guilty about it. From there, it was LSD, and your compass sort of just like disappeared. I knew where I belonged. I just couldn't get out. I was very depressed. I went on the floor and just began to shake. And I was just weeping. I was weeping. And I just began to cry out for God. 12:30 at night, on the linoleum floor of my kitchen, the God of the universe came and wept with me on that floor. I know where my hope lies. It's not being a rock star. I'm a son of the High King of the universe.
Watch Michael's story at IamSecond.com.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the madness here on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and our cast of characters back around the round table as we get ready to wrap tonight's show. It has been fun. It's been fast-paced, and now we move into the hardest part of the show because it's where we get to try and answer the question, who's going to go to victory lane? And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm feeling pretty good about this because let me get my air pump and blow up the balloon again. Hey, guess what? I've still got 2 points on all of you guys, which means, guess what? I get to pick first again this week, and I like that.
Well, how is it that you get 2 points up and you get to pick first? It's supposed to be high point man picks last.
I'm not so sure about this handicapping system here.
Yeah, I think Jacob made this up in his room last night. It's always high point man goes last.
You know what? Just y'all need to chillax here because I'm going to make this really easy, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to pick the guy that any of the rest of y'all are thinking. I'm going to make this really easy, really simple, and Tom, you're going to groan at me, but you're going to have to deal with it because I'm trying to keep a perfect streak alive, and I'm going to make this really simple because he is the best driver at Dover, period. He's got the most wins. He has got the most top 5 of the modern era. He's got the most top 10s of anybody not named Jeff Gordon in the modern era. Plain and simple. 6 times back on track this week, and I'm going 3 in a row. Jimmy Johnson wins at Dover. He punches his ticket, and we're going forward.
Oh, boy. I thought for a minute you were going to pick Richard Petty, the way you were going. I don't know. You know what, Jacob? Okay, fine. You can have JJ there. Again, going out on the 2-inch limb, but I know you want to make it 3 in a row. Your bubble is growing by the week. We're not going to be able to fit you in the room at the round table if you win another race. But you know what? I'm going to pass the buck here because I'm a nice guy. And I'm going to flip the proverbial coin here. I think we're going to let Kyle Magda go next. So, Magda, who you got for this?
Well, since it's a different thing how we do it here, because I do another fantasy league and it's the exact opposite, but that's saying it. But, Jimmy's going to be tough as always. I mean, this is a tough race to pick. I say it almost every week. But, the guy I'm going to go with, he hasn't won this season yet, had a strong run in the spring. He has won here before. I'm going to go with the 20 of Matt Kenseth. He gets his first win on the season, and he locks a spot into the contender round.
Oh, pick for Matt Kenseth. All right. Well, Jacob, we got a Johnson, we got a Kenseth. Let's flip around and go to Steve Evans now. Steve, are you going to pick your boy Junior?
Well, I'm going to give you my train of thought here. When I think of this year's chase, I think of you just have to survive. You have to survive each round and win a race to get yourself to Homestead. So when I think of survival, I think of the movie Survivor with Tom Hanks. And when I think of the movie Survivor with Tom Hanks, I think of Wilson. And when I think of Wilson going to Victory Lane with Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Dover. I will be going with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I knew he was going to go there. I predicted it. I knew he was going to go there. All right, Jacob, so we got a Johnson, we got a Kenseth, we got a Junior, and I'm going to toss it over now. And, again, being a nice guy, I'm going to pick last. I'll toss it over to Pikester. James Pike, are you going to jinx your boy Tony Stewart?
No, because he's already done enough to jinx himself this year, so I think we're covered with that. No. Fairness, I'll be up front here and say that I am going to make this move for the same reason that Jacob made his pick. And I will join him in the Jimmy Johnson camp because while he has a 2-race lead, I guess, from the Race Chaser Chase pick, I have a 703-point lead in our NASCAR Fantasy Live League that I need to protect. So, if I pick the same guy, I can't really lose any ground against him, right? Right?
Well, yeah, you're still going to be 2 points behind if you win. So I guess if you want to join him out, that 2-inch limb, it's a good thing both of you are thin. That's all I can say, because that's getting pretty doggone heavy. I'm going to reach a little farther for my pick. Not much farther, mind you, but just a little bit farther. It would be real easy for any of us to pick Penske Racing to win at Dover, because obviously Jimmy Johnson's been picked twice. I'm not going to go there. This is a race that you have to win. You really should want to win in order to get to the next round. And there are some guys in this chase that are really, really on the bubble here. And when you look at the field as it sits, and you look at the guys that have had any amount of success at Dover at all, there are 2 names that stand out that we haven't picked. One is Jeff Gordon. The other one is Kevin Harvick. Now, when I think about Dover and I think about the fact that this is a cutoff round, this is an elimination round, I start thinking about I want a driver who's capable of being as or more aggressive than anybody out that we haven't picked. And I've seen Jeff Gordon move people more than once to win races. I think the 24 gets it done this weekend, so it's a three-bagger for the Hendrick camp on this show. We've got Junior, we've got Johnson twice, and we've got Jeff Gordon. The only one we didn't pick is Casey Kane. No offense to Casey and the 5 team, but I'm taking the 24 team, Jeff Gordon, to win. And I'm going to tell you, the dark horse, Kyle Larson, I'm not sure he's going to be a factor here, but I do predict he's going to win a race before this chase is over.
Oh, I agree with that, Tom, but you know what? The way your train of thought was going, I swear I thought you were going to make a closer joke here in a minute and go with Kevin Harvick. Come on.
Well, it was a toss-up because, again, Harvick's not afraid to do what he needs to do either. And I also thought about Kyle Busch because there's another driver that definitely needs this, even if only for team morale, but he really needs a win. But I just think Jeff Gordon, I mean, he's been as tough as nails all year long, and he was fast the other day. I think this is Jeff's time. I'm not buying the Jimmy Johnson deal. I just don't think that team is dominant right now. And yeah, he's the most dominant driver at Dover, and that's the sexy 2-inch pick. I just don't see it. I think Jeff Gordon wins this weekend, and this will change the complexion of the chase and stop the Penske Racing dominance at going into the next round.
Yeah, and the next round has Kansas and Talladega in it. So what does that tell you? It's going to get fun. And, when Tom uses the word sexy, that's my cue that we need to start wrapping this deal up before they pull out the white walls and white coats and all that other wonderful stuff. But I've enjoyed it tonight, and we're rolling home here, so I appreciate everyone coming on tonight, making this a fun night. We want to give a shout-out to both Mason Mingus and Spencer Piggott for helping to make it happen here this evening, and appreciate their time on tonight's show, and looking forward now to Thursday night for the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show, where myself, Tom, Kyle Magda, Kyle Souza going to break down a little bit more racing action. We'll take it from the national scene to the short track scene and get ready to have some fun. We'll talk ARCA. We'll talk K&N as they get ready for their finale efforts. We'll talk the Southern Super Series finale, which was absolutely incredible. I won't spoil it, but we have got an all-star group of guests getting ready to join us for that show. You'll have to tune in Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, right back here on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online, to find out what all we've got going. But for right now, until the next time we are on the air, I'm Jacob Steelman. Race fans, keep it off the wall until we meet again. And for our executive producer tonight, Steve Ovens, my colleague in crime, Tom Baker, and the rest of our cast, have a safe racing weekend, and we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.